My simp husband found out about my affair with new neighbor. His revenge shocked me.
Hi, Redditors. I would like to share with you all how my wife, whom we have been together for 5 years, has been cheating on me with our neighbor, and how I plan on ruining their lives. I caught her cheating on me with the new neighbor, so I decided to make her pay, but with a twist. I made sure she was aware that I knew of her cheating behavior. At first, as soon as I found out that she had been cheating, I decided to act normal and show no signs that I was aware of the infidelity, but I decided to reveal the truth to her and watch her struggle to understand how much I know. My name is Anthony. I'm a 35-year-old business manager at one of the popular stores that I unfortunately can't mention. My wife's name is Kimberly. She's a 30-year-old entrepreneur. My wife and I have been married for 5 years now, and I recently caught her cheating on me with our new neighbor, Jason. Jason just packed into our neighborhood not too long ago. It's heartbreaking seeing the one person you love and cherish betraying and playing with your heart like it's nothing. Frankly, I still can't believe that my wife could just throw away what we have shared together for 5 years for just a few minutes of pleasure. Before I continue, let me share with you all how we both met. Kim and I met at her best friend's aunt's wedding, who happens to be my mom's friend. At that time, we were still at college, but we didn't really have time to interact with each other. As fate would have it, we met at a fundraiser again. We both recognized each other and chit-chatted for a while. But this time, I made sure I got her contact details before leaving. Kim and I started texting for late hours, meeting for brunch and dinner dates before I decided to ask her to be my girlfriend. She accepted wholeheartedly, and it felt surreal because I haven't had the courage to ask any girl out before. Our late hours of texting and calling increased, went on a couple of dates, hangouts, and functions together. We dated for 2 years before I proposed to her to be my wife, and she said yes. We got married a few months after our graduation from college and moved to New York to start our own lives. We lived as normal couples and pursued our career. I got employed to work at the sales department of the business I'm currently working at. My job requires long work hours, and I often come home late just to make our customers satisfied. My hectic work schedule sometimes hinders participation in activities unrelated to career, which causes challenges in carving out quality time together with my wife. It's not always easy to manage demands between my career and personal life. This makes me feel drained and guilty sometimes. On the other hand, my wife is an entrepreneur. We both make enough income to sustain the both of us. We decided not to have kids yet due to our busy work routine, as we don't want to give a lack of attention to our kids. We both still make out time to go on regular dates despite our busy schedules. Kim and I supported each other through thick and thin. Together we built a strong relationship well, to the best of my knowledge. But now, I have come to realize that everything was just a lie and a sham. I've been deceived and blindsided right under my own nose. Kim started acting weird and staying out late. It's unlike her, as she's always waiting for me to come back home so we can retire to bed together. I tried asking her, but decided to give her the benefit of doubt that she's not in any way cheating on me. 2 weeks went by and Kim's sudden change grew worse, so one day I decided to ask her what's wrong and why she was constantly coming home late. She brushed it off like it's nothing and said I was overreacting and that I don't have anything to worry about. At first I believed her, but then again my instincts kept telling me that something was wrong. She stood up from where we were seated and insisted that she was very tired and wanted to get some rest so she could prepare early for work. I complied and didn't stress her further since we both were tired from work. Guys, this just goes to show how much I cared and practically worshipped my wife. I don't mean that I worshipped her literally, but I'm just trying to say that I adored my wife. I think that's what people refer to as simp nowadays. I was practically the submissive man in the marriage. But now I have realized that being the submissive man will only end up making me a laughingstock. I am very ashamed of myself even as I write this. It makes no sense that I trusted my wife so much that I didn't know that she had been cheating on me. It's even more crazy and wild that our neighbor is her affair partner, and it took me so long to find out about this. I think that my wife is very aware of the fact that I am a very calm man. That's the only reason she has the audacity to cheat with our neighbor, who is literally living a few steps away from our house. I know you all are wondering how I actually found out that Kim is cheating on me. I found out 2 weeks ago, and it was only because I had to take up extra majors to find out the truth. I spoke to some of my friends, and they recommended that I hire a private investigator so that everything could happen smoothly. I was very hesitant at first because I did not think it was right to keep an eye on my wife without her knowing. But as time went on, I realized that I had to take up those measures if I wanted to find out exactly what had been going on behind my back. It is a known fact that I would not have been able to get the real truth from her because cheaters never accept their faults. I decided to hire the private investigator because I was constantly getting paranoid and irritated. I didn't want Kim to know about my decision, so I decided to be secret and smooth with my movements. Due to the nature of my job, I'm not able to carry such tasks out efficiently by myself, so I had to get a professional to do the job. I decided to make the private investigator my gatekeeper so that I would be able to be secret about my movement. It was a very versatile plan, and I actually succeeded in concealing my intentions. Kim had no idea, and that was the perfect plan. At first, Kim did not understand why we suddenly needed a gatekeeper when it had never been a problem before. I had to convince her that I was having problems with opening the gate by myself when I got back from work. She did not seem to bother me after I told her what I needed the gatekeeper for. The private investigator I hired was very good at his job because it really made it look like it was a real gatekeeper. If I didn't hire him, I would have really believed that it was just a normal gatekeeper. When the private investigator started work, I was hardly even home to get any feedback. My work really took most of my time, and I was only free during the weekend. It was during one of these weekends that I was able to get some feedback from the private investigator. He told me that there was not really much he could say since my wife has been careful in all her endeavors. After a few more days, the private investigator told me that he already got substantial proof that Kim had been cheating on me. When I asked what the evidence was, he told me that he had pictures and videos of my wife leaving the compound. I did not find that suspicious at all and asked why that was a cause for an alarm. He told me that she never really left the neighborhood even after getting dressed up. Apparently, Kim had been getting dressed to see the neighbor. If you are wondering who the neighbor is, he's the same guy that moved in barely 4 months ago. It really hurt me to discover that Kim was comfortable cheating on me with a man that just got to the neighborhood. After 2 more weeks, the private investigator was able to give me all the proof I needed. The proof consisted of pictures of my wife with the new neighbor, Jason. I honestly did not see that one coming, guys. It was a huge blow to the back. I didn't just decide to stop being a simp overnight. It was a gradual process, and Kim's betrayal only made me more determined. After gathering all the evidence I needed, I concluded that I was not going to let the betrayal go just like that. It took me days of thinking and trying to put my thoughts together for me to come up with a plan. I don't plan on keeping quiet and only speaking up when I have gotten my revenge. No, guys, that would just be very stupid of me. I want her to know I am aware of everything she's been up to. I want to see how scared she gets and how much trouble she goes through just to properly understand what's going on. My first decision is to give her hints that I know she's cheating. I want to drive her crazy with suspense. I have so much planned out for her, and I honestly cannot wait till she falls right into my trap. The worst kind of men are the gentle ones who were forced to become ruthless because of how they were treated. I plan on doing something very baffling next week, and I'll make an update to this post when I'm able to pull that through. Please comment under this post and share your own experiences with me. I'm looking forward to reading all your thoughts and ideas, and I hope that I'm able to also help someone who is in need of directions. Till next time. Update. Hi guys, I'm back, and I'm more than ready to share this update with you all. It's been very hard for me to live in the same house with the disgusting woman I call my wife. She's cheating, and she has no shame in doing it. My private investigator has been giving me more updates, and the contents of everything he has sent to me is just despicable. A few days ago, I gathered almost 10 pictures from the pictures the private investigator sent to me. Kim was sitting in the living room when I barged in. I was very angry because I'd seen some more pictures that day. Before I even got an opportunity to talk and state why I was there, she had the audacity to ask me for some money. Yes, you read that right. Kim had the audacity to ask me for money even after all the things she'd been up to. I was so angry that I grabbed her elbow and pushed her till she was lying face flat on the ground. I threw the disgusting pictures at her and watched how her eyes widened in surprise. Yes, guys, Kim looked surprised. I could see how guilty she was, and that was what enraged me more. All these while, a part of me had been hoping that she was innocent and that the pictures were fake. But that day, I discovered that Kim was actually more vicious than the private investigator painted her out to be. Kim showed no remorse for her cheating behavior. In fact, She acted like she did absolutely nothing wrong. Her indifference only angered me more and motivated me to make her life difficult. Kim had the audacity to try to pin everything on me. She tried to make it seem like I was the reason she suddenly decided to cheat on me. We got into a very heated argument and Kim decided to set me up. She kept throwing herself at me and trying to make me hit her. Yes, guys, like tried to make me physically attack her. I was smart enough to understand what she was trying to do, so I kept my hands folded gently behind my back and made the decision to ignore her. I knew that she was looking for a reason to implicate me and possibly get me arrested for domestic violence. I can't get revenge on her when I'm in prison, so I had to control myself. I did not let myself stay there and listen to all her lies. I made sure she understood the fact that our relationship was over. Kim was so confident that I was just bluffing and was not going to do anything to her. I assure you guys that all her rants only made me more determined. When I saw how nonchalant she had been, I knew that I'd been a doormat husband. For her to be so confident that I was not going to hurt her just confirmed all my fears. I'd been the world's biggest fool. I left the house that same day and did not return till the next day. When I got back, Kim greeted me at the door and told me that we had no food in the house. Yes, guys, she had the effrontery to ask me for money for groceries. She thought I'd forget about everything that had transpired. I ignored her and went straight to my room. I didn't waste any time before throwing all of Kim's things out of the closet. Even while I was busy gathering her things together, Kim was nowhere to be found. When I brought all her things outside, I realized that she had left the house. It didn't take me much time to guess where she had been. I was sure that she went to visit her lover. I took a matchstick from the kitchen and then I poured some petroleum on her clothes. In less than 5 minutes, all the clothes she owned were burnt out. 30 minutes after I burnt her clothes, Kim ran to the house like a mad woman. "What was that smoke about? What did you do?" She asked me immediately and she set her eyes on me. Of course, guys. I ignored her because she was literally of no use to me. But when she decided to lay her hands on me and try to scratch her nails on my face, I grabbed her and made sure I pushed her to the ground. Reddit, I don't think any of you understands how crazy I discovered Kim is. I can't believe that I've been living with a fool like that for years. When I finally told Kim that I'd burnt all her belongings, she almost ran mad on the spot. She burst into tears and threatened to report me to the police if I didn't buy back her clothes. I ignored all her rants. I knew that there was no point exchanging words with a person like Kim. She was just totally disgusting and had little to no respect for me. So I grabbed her hands and dragged her outside the house. Kim was so shocked that she started screaming dramatically. I didn't act like I heard her screams. I even dragged her out of our gate till we were literally in the middle of the neighborhood. The type of neighborhood I live in is the type that is full of gossips and unserious people. They never miss a chance to listen in on a rumor and watch drama unfold. I knew that well, and that was why I intentionally took her to that particular spot. We attracted a lot of crowd because of how loud Kim had been screaming. I didn't know if she was just trying to be dramatic or if my grip in her hands were really that hard. Well, I will not lie, guys. I did make sure that I bruised her hands while in the process of dragging her out. That part was extremely intentional. Like I earlier said, Kim's screams were drawing a lot of attention, and all the people present seemed to think that I'd been abusing her. I didn't care to explain anything. All I wanted to do was execute everything I had in mind. One of the people who had the audacity to come out and watch the scene was Jason, Kim's lover. I knew he was going to be foolish enough to come, and that was why I even made the scene in the first place. I told all the neighbors that Kim was no longer going to be living with me, and that she was no longer my wife. Even before I could get all my words out, Kim was already shaking vigorously beside me. I knew that she hated public embarrassment and was one of the people who had very huge egos. She didn't want to be embarrassed in public, and that was exactly why I brought her out to face everyone. I told the neighbors that Jason and my wife had been sleeping together, so it was only right for them to live together from now on. So guys, I dragged Kim to where Jason was standing. Then I handed her over to him. He was so shocked and scared when he saw me in front of him. He was literally shaking and his eyes were widened like a fish. I got so enraged that I punched him in the face. What made me angry was the fact that he was just a new neighbor and was barely old enough to be my younger brother. I punched him so hard that I actually drew blood from his face. The neighbors and everyone present tried to stop me. but I made sure I gave him a good beating. At the end of the day, I successfully broke his hand and made him limp a little. The only reason I stopped was because the neighbors intervened and held me. I didn't wait to hear whatever anyone was going to say. I just went back to the house. I arranged my room and trashed every wedding picture that I had. Barely 2 hours after I decided to rest and recharge my energy, I heard noises outside my gate. The private investigator came inside and told me that Kim and her parents were at the door. Apparently, Kim went to call her parents so they could beg me on her behalf and let her back into the house. Yes, guys, you read that right. I couldn't even believe my ears when the gatekeeper told me that Kim's parents were waiting for me at the door. How shameless and irresponsible can a whole family be? How do you confidently follow your daughter to beg her husband after she ruthlessly cheated on him? I was so disgusted that I refused to go see them. That incident really made me realize that I must have been a format. For her parents to confidently accompany her to me, it just shows how stupid and lenient I'd been in the past. After having lunch at home hours later, I decided to go out of the house. I'd practically caused commotion in the neighborhood and everyone seemed to be talking about what I'd done earlier that day. I didn't give a shit. All I wanted to do was go print out the pictures of Kim and Jason. I planned on hanging them all around the neighborhood and in front of my gate so everyone could see. After printing out the pictures, I returned home and decided to hire someone to hang them in the night. You guys won't believe what happened the next morning. I woke up to the sounds of people banging my gate. I was confused, so I decided to go outside and check what was going on. The private investigator I hired as my gatekeeper wasn't around by that time, so I had to go and check myself. When I got to the gate, I saw my neighbor standing there with Kim, who happened to be crying. When I asked them why they were at my gate, they held up one of the printed pictures. Apparently, the person I'd hired had already done his job. Kim fell to her knees and begged me to stop trying to ruin her life. Some of the stupid neighbors begged me too. After having the pictures, some people asked me if I was not feeling embarrassed. I was shocked to be asked that kind of question because it did not just make sense. Why should I be the one feeling embarrassed when I was the one that got cheated on? Why should I be the one that hides his face? It made no sense, and I told them that. The pictures were very provocative, and some of them even included her in a very scandalous state. I denied being the one to have released the pictures before I closed my gate. I had a good breakfast that morning and spent time preparing for work. I had to go see my lawyer that day, so I went there before work. My lawyer had already begun drafting out the divorce papers like I instructed. I need to divorce Kim as soon as possible, and I am working towards it. I had to make sure that the lawyer was good enough to spare me any alimony expenditure. It doesn't make any sense that a cheating wife goes away with your money. That day at work, I had to switch off my phone because I kept getting calls from Kim and her parents. I refused to pick up any of their calls. If they thought that I was just starting out with them, they had to be joking. I was not going to let myself be a doormat like I'd previously done. There was no way that was going to be possible. I still remember how calm and cool I'd been with her family. I even allowed them to take control of the wedding and everything that had to do with it. Now that this whole cheating scandal happened, I've realized that I've been the world's most foolish doormat. I left myself to be used and controlled like a rat. The amount of disgusting disrespect that Kim has shown me just makes me very ashamed of myself. Some people cheat and decide to do it far away from their homes because they are scared of getting caught. Kim was so confident and nonchalant that she had no problem cheating with a neighbor. Let me tell you guys something. It's never okay to be too nice or calm. Sometimes it's okay to be the beast no one guessed you were. I mean, if you're in doubt, just look at where being the good guy took me. I got nothing out of it but betrayal and an unnecessary amount of embarrassment. Oh, I almost forgot the most important part of what I did during these past few days. I got so angry writing this because I kept recalling everything that had been happening. I'm grateful that my keyboard didn't end up suffering as a result of my anger. So, let me tell you all about what I did on Reddit. Before I found out Kim had been cheating on me, we lived normal lives. What I mean by normal lives is that we know a lot about each other. It's just like any other couple. You talk about things and share personal information. I've also shared personal information with Kim and vice versa. It's as a result of this that I'm able to know what her bank PIN is. She also knows my bank PIN, but I already went to the bank to block all my cards and get a new one. I told you guys that Kim is an entrepreneur, right? Well, I have used that to my advantage. She had her savings where she keeps money for her businesses. She also has an account where she keeps the money that her customers sent her so she could buy things for them from any of her trips. I have used this to my advantage. While I was gathering her things, I was able to find one of her ATM cards. I didn't burn that one. Instead, I went to the bank and withdrew everything. When I say I withdrew everything, I mean it. I took everything, including the money that belongs to her customers. I didn't even spare her savings. I destroyed her phone the day I sent her out of the house, so I'm certain that she hasn't been debited yet. She has been using her parents' phone to try and contact me. She isn't even aware of the money that had gone missing. By the time she finds out, it will be too late for her. It's a lot of money, and I will not be calling the amount. I plan on using part of that money to file the divorce case in case it gets too intense. I'm just getting started with her, and she has no idea yet. Maybe I'm trying to get revenge for all the ways she has constantly disrespected me. By the time I am done with her, I'm sure she will regret using me as her doormat. That's all that's been happening within these past few weeks. Apart from the divorce, I plan on doing something soon. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. I'll get something together and execute the plan before I update you guys. I also have to use this medium to focus on work, because I have been too busy doing other things for a while. I want to consistently focus on my work now that I have done most of the things I want to do. I still have to make money because money doesn't make itself. That's all for today. I'll update you guys soon. Please keep all your comments coming. I love to see them. Update. I'm on cloud 9 and I'll like to share that with you all. Before I proceed, I'd like to thank every single one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to read and interact with this experience of mine. I never imagined that so many people would even give my unfortunate experience a glance. Now it seems like I'd underestimated myself. I can see all the love you all show me, and I am beyond grateful for it all. Thank you very much. I don't want to deviate too much today. I'm ready to get straight to the point because I am very happy as I write this. Just like I told you guys, I made sure I carefully thought of what I wanted to do next. While I was busy working and spending my free time thinking about everything that had been happening, I decided that it was only right for me to give Jason a piece of my mind. If not for Kim, I didn't even realize that Jason lived that close to our house. I knew we had a new neighbor in the neighborhood, but I never thought that neighbor was sleeping with my wife. What enraged me the most is that he has to be at least 5 years younger than me. I don't even know what women really want at this point. Kim cheated with a younger man, and why did she do that? She was just ready to throw away our marriage for a few seconds of pleasure. That's all there's been to it. All she wanted to do was ruin the marriage. That leads me to my next question. Why is it hard to just ask for a divorce? If you're tired of your partner and you would rather sleep around than fix your marriage, why don't you ask for a divorce? I don't bite. If she asked me for a divorce, I would have given it to her without a second thought. I literally don't care about forcing her to stay. I would have had huge respect for her if she just came to me and demanded we end our marriage. That is more respectful than going out of your way to shamefully cheat on your husband. Only cowards cheat, and I will never have respect for anyone that thinks it's right to cheat. I learned that Jason worked at a tech company, so I decided to pay him a visit at work. Yes, he works at a tech company. I'm sure he must be one of those young rich men who think they can do as they like because they have no real responsibilities and earn a certain amount of money. I'm not sure if it's his money or age that attracted Kim to him. It doesn't make sense that she would stay at my house, eat the food I bought, and then go outside to cheat. Damn, I've been a big fool. I'll keep saying this. The distance from my house to Jason's house is very small. How did I not know? Well, that's why I've worked harder to make sure Kim regrets her actions. When I got to Jason's place of work and asked for him, it took time before I was actually able to see him. He must have been expecting me. After the several beatings I gave him, I didn't expect anything short of that. When Jason saw me, he looked like he could have piss in his pants. I'm actually very offended that Kim decided to cheat on me with a scared cat. Well, I don't judge because I used to be Kim's doormat. It's like she has a type. She attracts the kind of guys she knows she can control. When Jason and I were alone in the lobby, I could tell just how scared he was. I'm a very tall guy, and I've been told that I can look quite intimidating sometimes. Well, that comes as a surprise to me because that did not stop Kim from cheating on me. The fact that Jason was practically showing how scared he was funny. He had a cast and bandage on. I noticed that the beating I gave him last time really dealt with him. It did exactly what it was supposed to do, LOL. There was even a limp in his step. Before I could even speak, Jason started apologizing. Listen, man, I'm sorry for what happened. I messed up. I didn't know she was your wife. She told me the both of you were cousins and she was just staying at your house till she was back on her feet. That's what he said to me. Yes, guy. Apparently, Kim lied to him and told him we were just cousins. I was skeptical at first and I didn't want to believe him, but he gave me all the price I needed. He even had voice recordings of Kim continuously referring to me as her cousin. Well, that wasn't how I felt about him. He was just as stupid as she was. If he was really curious and wanted to find out if I was really her cousin, he would have been able to find out. He just wanted to go with what she told him because he was also interested in her. Ignorance is never an excuse. But I didn't do anything to him, guys. I already gave him enough beatings. I was not ready to waste my time with Kim's sloppy second. I will never give her that satisfaction of thinking she got under my skin by cheating on me. Well, she did get under my skin, but she doesn't need to know that yet. I asked Jason if Kim was still at his place, and he said no immediately. He told me that he had chased her out and he had broken up with her. I asked him why he did that, and he said he was just not ready to date a married woman. I was surprised to hear that because my main reason for coming to meet him was just to make him break up with her. Jason did that even without my intervention. I didn't have to lift a finger before all my wishes came true, lol. Jason kept apologizing to me before I left. I had no business with him anymore, so I saw no reason why I should waste any time accepting his apologies. It made me feel good to know that Jason and Kim had broken up. I didn't want to take his word for it, so I asked my private investigator to find out if everything was true. Barely 2 days later, he told me that Jason was right. Kim was no longer living with him, and they had broken up 2 weeks before I even found out. That was part of the reason why Kim kept calling me with her mom's phone. She wanted me to take her back. 2 weeks after visiting Jason at work, I was practically ambushed at my place of work. Kim fell to her knees and started crying. She threatened to strip herself naked if I didn't forgive her. Yes, you definitely read that right. Imagine how shocked I was. My colleagues were stunned to see what had been going on. Kim thought she could emotionally blackmail me into doing something I didn't want to do. I told her she could strip naked if she wanted to, and that it was none of my business. My boss accused me of leaving work early, and I left Kim at work to continue embarrassing herself. None of what she was doing mattered to me at all. When I got back from work that day, my lawyer told me that the divorce papers were ready. I sent them to Kim's house after signing them, and patiently waited for her to sign them. Kim didn't sign the papers even after 2 weeks. She showed up at my house and demanded to speak to me. Apparently, she went to the bank and discovered that all her money was gone. She pleaded with me to return the money because her customers were trying to sue her. I denied taking the money and asked her to leave my house. Kim told me she would not sign the divorce papers unless I returned the money. I didn't have a problem with that because I am not even planning on getting married anytime soon. I don't want any legal drama. She can draw out the divorce all she wants. As long as she's getting sued in court and is currently dead broke, single and abandoned, I do not have any problem with it. I've gotten the perfect revenge and that is okay for me. I even have a girlfriend now. We're just having fun, and it's nothing serious. It was tough, but I had a lot of fun. Thank you all for reading and cementing. It means a lot to me. Bye. You know, sometimes they say, when life gives you lemons, you better make it a lemonade out of it. What I went through were truly lemons, and guess what I did? I made a very sweet and juicy lemonade. You can never fool a person once and think you can fool them the second time. Yes, I was a fool once, but that made me realize some things and I became wiser. My wife made me the biggest fool in the world, and she made sure that she almost ruined my life, because hers was already ruined. I mean, how can you cheat and get a disease? And when you get that disease, you infect someone else that you claim to love. I just don't understand this thing called love. Sometimes I feel like it's a scam to make people believe that there is something called love, even though there isn't. If there is someone who once went through what I had gone through, please let me know how you dealt with it. Allow me to let you know what happened. So my wife Amina, female 3D4, and I, male 35, met at a friend's party. One of my friends was celebrating their 30th birthday during summer holidays. At that time, I was going under a lot of stress because my mother was sick and things were not looking good with her condition. So Mike's friend, male 35, party was going or was supposed to be a good distraction for me. And it really helped me get destroyed, so there was this lady who was introduced as Amina, and she was a friend of Mike's wife. She looked lonely also. I'm saying that because I had seen that she was not concentrating a lot on whatever the other ladies were engaging in. She looked deep in her thoughts, or rather disturbed. She was so beautiful, her beautiful melanin skin suited her very well, and she was an African American. I found that out later. You know, she took my attention and heart that night. I was scared to approach her and ask what she was thinking about, so I resorted to just stare at her and admire her natural beauty from afar. Her beauty was hypnotizing, not knowing that I was charmed and taken by my almost early grave. But we would never know until it is said and done, right? I was hesitant to approach her, so I just decided to continue admiring her from afar. But the way she was out of her own mind worried me. It was like she was going through something big. The time went on, and I saw her standing up and going to the kitchen. I then took it upon myself that I was not going to miss that opportunity to speak to her, so I excused myself from the gents and rushed to where she was because Mike's wife beat me to it. When I got there, she was not looking fine at all. I saw her sobbing so bad she even had hiccups, so I got her a glass of water with sugar. I had heard that it helped with normalizing the nervous system and helped to calm the person down. I called Mike's wife to take her to the bedroom where she can rest. I was really worried about her and wondered what had happened to her to break down like that to a stranger. The party ended later and I went home. My mind took me back to my own miserable life. I thought of my mother's health condition and everything that was not going well in my life until I found myself thinking about Amina and her beauty. She had really taken my fragile but cold heart. I saw that her soul was crying for help. She needed a knight in shining armor, and I was already willing to be one to her. The next morning, I drove to Mike's house and made an excuse that I wanted to check on him and how they were after the previous night. Mike laughed at me and told me that the lady was fine, and she had gone back to her apartment. That was how I got that she was living in the apartment, and I had thought that whatever she was going through was either a family or boyfriend's problem. But I didn't ask anything further, so I went straight to the hospital to check on my mother. Amina was on my mind throughout the whole journey to the hospital. The way she was on my mind, I even told my mother to pull through because I had found her a daughter-in-law who would take care of her. I really don't know why I said that because I never even shared one word with the lady. Mind you, I didn't even know where she was staying, but my heart was beating drums whenever I was thinking of her. Was I already in love? I mean, her beauty has already taken me away, so maybe I would say it was love at first sight. A week later, I went to this cafe, name withheld, to have a meeting with an investor of the IT company I had started, but I didn't have much capital to launch it, so I needed an investor to help me boost it and get more clients. So when I got into the cafe, she was the one who came to the table that I was sitting on. I didn't see her at first when she approached the table because I was busy going through my proposal. She greeted and welcomed me, then asked if I would love to order anything or a drink. Obviously, I had to look up to the person who was speaking to me, and to my surprise, it was the sweet melanin beauty. I was surprised to see her working as a waitress at the cafe I was in. Small world, hey. Her beauty was something else, and her voice was as sweet as her melanin skin. She had that beautiful and charming smile on her face. I found myself staring at her for a few seconds until she brought me back to earth. So I ordered water and told her that I was waiting for a client, so I wouldn't be ordering anything until he arrived. A few minutes later, the client arrived and I called her again and ordered. The real reason why I had ordered water at first was because I wanted her to keep coming back to my table so I could admire her beauty without any tears on her face. Her welcoming and innocent smile made me want her more. I was taken, you know. Call me weak. I don't care as long as she was the one who made me weak anyway. But being weak to me, it took me straight to hell and back. After the meeting I had, I decided to stay a little longer, hoping that maybe I would get a chance to speak to her. I requested her service again, but that time I didn't really want to order, but to at least get her name from her. I had already got it, but I felt like I wanted to get it from her. So when she got to my table, she asked if I had wanted to order. Silly me. I just asked if I knew her from somewhere because she looked familiar. Stupid and dumb, right? But what would I have said because my heart was busy drumming outside my chest? Words ran out of my mouth. Luckily, she confirmed that I had seen her the previous week at Mike's birthday party that was hosted at his house. I was whipped by someone who was not even my girlfriend. So I asked if she was feeling better after what she had gone through. I tried to converse with her, but I knew that my questions and conversations were lame and boring. When she told me that she had to get back to work, I then found courage to ask for her numbers. She was a bit resistant at first, but I begged her and told her that I just wanted to check if she was fine and be a friend she would be able to speak or vent to whenever she felt under the weather. So she gave me her number when she was bringing my bill. My heart was at ease. I was happy that the first step I had taken was successful. I spent 4 full days contemplating on whether to call her or text her. My palms were sweating whenever I would stare at her numbers. I was nervous. All of a sudden, I didn't know what to say to her. Words were failing me. I was a coward, right? She made me nervous and it shook me because I was not the person who would suddenly lose words. Yes, I once had a fiancé, well, a high school sweetheart. I loved her, and she betrayed me in the most painful way. She got involved, or let me say she got into a relationship with my brother-in-law and messed up my sister's relationship to a point that my sister was extremely hurt and took her own life. Ever since then, I stopped using and practicing the word love because it took away my sister and my mother became miserable, which led to her health being in jeopardy. A week later, I went to the cafe again, hoping to see her so I would explain why I never called or texted her. Unfortunately, she was off duty that day, so I had to call her to check how she was. Later that day, I decided to put my nervousness and fears aside and called her. She answered her phone. I tried talking to her, but she told me that she was going to speak with me later. She sounded a bit off, like she was afraid of something because she was whispering. Some of the words she had said, I couldn't hear them clearly, and when I asked if she was okay, she dropped her phone. That got me worried about her. My conscience kept telling me that she was going through something and she was scared to speak. My mind just rushed to another dimension. There was only one thing that would make a person speak like that, and it is when a person is in trouble or threatened. Worst part, I didn't even know her apartment address, meaning if I wanted to help her. I had to call Mike and ask for Amina's address from his wife, which was not going to be easy, so I had to explain myself first, which was something I didn't want. I ended up calling Mike and asked him for the address to avoid 21 questions from his wife. He also refused to help, and my hope of helping her went down the drain just like that. I tried tracking her phone using her number, but it was off and nothing was showing. I was really worried about her well-being and her safety. I got scared of losing her because women were murdered each and every day in this world, so my thoughts were running too wild. Another week passed, and I received a call from Amina. It was surprising because she had been quiet since the first and last call I had made to her, and Mike's wife didn't get back to me when she went to check on her. I was relieved when I got her call. She assured me that she was fine. I was not convinced though, so I asked to see her to ensure that she was really okay. Luckily, she agreed and set a date to see her. The day that she had set came. We were going to meet at a nearby restaurant. Her beauty was the first thing that I saw when she appeared. I couldn't get enough of her beauty. God really took his own precious time when he was creating her. Another thing that I had noticed about her was that she was a very calm person. She was not those loud and forward girls that stay in Chicago. I loved her calm personality. It brought that kind of peace that every man needs, Since the day of our mini date, we got along very well. Another thing, she was not afraid to tell you the truth as it was, no matter how it would get to you. I appreciated a truthful person because it was rare to find them at fault or having secrets. Little did I know that I had gotten myself involved with the biggest liar of them all. She was what we call a dangerous, conniving snake that hides itself under a sheep's skin. If I knew better, I would run for my life before everything even took place. I was happy that she had loosened up and allowed me to be there for her in every way. Even though we were not in a relationship, but everything has a start, right? So I was willing to take everything slow and follow her pace. I didn't want to pressure her, even though the feelings that I had were getting stronger every time we spent together or talked on the phone. She didn't tell me what had occurred when I first called her. She just told me that she was going through girl stuff and dismissed it just like that. I didn't want to look so prying, so I also changed the topic and we talked about something else. Time passed and our friendship was getting closer each day. She had loosened enough to let me in on what was going on in her life. She once told me that she had an abusive partner, so the time I had called, he was with her, so she was not comfortable to speak to the phone because her fiancé was going to ask who she was speaking to. And if he found out that she was speaking to a man, he was going to flip and beat her up. When she told me that, I got angry because she should have at least made signals so I would hear that she was in danger, or she should have just sent me a text saying she needed help, but she didn't. Instead, she stayed there and waited for her abusive animal to decide what to do with her. What surprised me was the fact that I found out she was still with him, which was why she didn't want us to be in a relationship. I don't understand women sometimes. Would you rather stay in a relationship where you are turned into a punching bag and not accept the person who was willing to show you real love? When I asked why she was not leaving the guy, she told me that she loved him, and they had been through a lot together, so she couldn't just break things off with him. I knew that. That was just an excuse. And it was a very lame excuse, if you ask me, because I had lived with an abusive person. My late father was abusive towards my mother. When my mother tried to break things off with him, my father got livid and told her that they were never going to break up, and they were bound to be together until they die. Luckily, and by God's grace, a week later we were told that my father was involved in a fight. He was drunk, so he started a fight with the wrong crowd, and he got stabbed. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. He passed on his way to the hospital. That was the day my mother got her freedom back and she became herself again. And that was the day we experienced our mother's love, because she was always doing everything right to please my abusive father, to a point that she even forgot to think of her children and love them first before a man that was abusive-y. So I knew how abusive people act and think. I vowed to myself that whenever I get into a relationship, I would treat women with respect and show them true love. But where did that take me? I got cheated on. And the worst part was with my sister's man, the person who was supposed to show my sister love. But he disrespected her in a most cruel way. Some men are sickos and they don't deserve great women. I hated and still hate my ex-fiancé and my ex-brother-in-law because their affair didn't only destroy relationships, but it also took my sister's life. My sister loved her man so much to a point that she would defend him when people were giving her warnings about her fiancé, and when she found out that what people were saying was true. She couldn't accept and handle it, but she drowned into depression up until she decided to take her own life. I was also hurt by my ex-fiancé's and brother-in-law's affair, but I had to be a man and take charge of my home and my mother's well-being. Mother couldn't take the passing of my sister well, to a point that she started getting sick. I explained all my experiences with Amina. I knew that she was not going to leave her fiancé because her life was threatened, but I did it to think about it and make the right decision. To God be the glory, she actually listened to me and dumped her fiancé, even though it was not easy, but what she did made me proud of her. Not because I wanted to get into a relationship with her, but because she was able to put herself first before a man. So she went to the police department and filed for a restraining order against the guy. 9 months later, our friendship was going strong. She was also living her life freely. She no longer feared that her ex-fiancé would appear everywhere she was going. She no longer had fear of the unknown. And another thing, she unleashed her true self. Yes, she was still a calm and peaceful person, but she enjoyed her life on the outside. She loved going out on adventures, exploring historical attractions. I also learned that she loved history. She was a very curious person and would always ask the history of everything she came across. She told me that she had a dream of being a historian or a time traveler because she was so in love with anything that had to do with history. So I offered to take her to college so she can get more knowledge in history and achieve her dream to become a historian. The only thing I wanted her to experience was pure and genuine love. I wanted her to be free and not think that every man wants to control her like how her fiancé did. She was somehow reluctant to take my offer, but I assured her that she had nothing to lose, and she should let go of what her ex had done. As much as it was not going to be easy, she had to beg herself to be better and move on. I just couldn't believe how Mike and his wife would not help Amina when they knew that she was being abused. I was really disappointed at Mike for real. I had thought he was a man, but clearly he was not. So I broke off our friendship. I couldn't continue being friends with someone who vouched and tolerated women abuse. That was not the kind of friendship I wanted to be in. Anyway, a year ended with me and Amina being friends. She had accepted my offer, and I was happy that she had taken the right decision. So the following year, she got enrolled in college, and I was paying, obviously. As long as she was chasing her dream, I was happy. Few months passed, the love relationship was formed, and one thing I remember is that it was her birthday, so I had made a surprise dinner for her. Well, she had moved in with me the day she was a free girl. Her and my mother got along very well. Mother would say that she reminded her of Stacy, my sister. So she moved in with me because her abusive criminal was the one who owned the apartment she was living in. That time she had a class in college, so she was not home, which gave me enough time to prepare for her surprise birthday dinner. It was going to be just the three of us, which was my mother, her, and I. Mother would always ask why I was not in a relationship with Amina because she loved her for me. I then decided that on that day I was going to confess my feelings for her. So when she came back later, we had a very nice intimate dinner and Mother excused herself, which gave me a chance to tell her how I felt. My palms were sweating. I kept rubbing them, praying that she would not reject my proposal. So I managed to put on my big boy shoes and brave face, then I told her how I felt. She went mute for a moment. Mind you, that time my knees were shaking. My mind was regretting my actions while my heart was relieved that I had taken out one thing that was weighing on me for the whole year. So when she came back to her senses, she told me that she was not expecting my confession, so I took her by surprise. I already knew that, but I needed just one answer, and that answer was if she was agreeing to be my girlfriend or not. One thing about me that people do not know is that I am a very impatient man when I have to, and what Amina was doing was adding to my impatience. So I decided to give her time to think things through, even though my heart needed an immediate answer, but I couldn't rush her. You know. The following day, when I was preparing for work, she came to me and told me that she was accepting my proposal. Mind you, my mind had already thought and accepted that she had rejected me. She also confessed that she felt the same way as I was, and it had been a while since she felt the way she felt, but she couldn't tell me because she thought maybe I was taking her as her sister since she had moved in with me and my mother. From then, our relationship was formed and my heart was at ease. I respected my consciousness because it kept telling me that as much as I loved the girl, I should not put all my nails to it and leave a space for disappointment because we would never know how tomorrow may be and what it may bring. But I didn't listen to it and went ahead with giving all my heart and soul to the relationship only for it to almost ruin me. I had no doubts about confessing my love to her. I was free, you know. I became free and forgot to leave the space for disappointments. You know, when a relationship is still at the beginning phase, some call it a honeymoon phase, it is hard to take any advice or listen to your consciousness because you would be head over heels in the new formed relationship and nothing else mattered. Not knowing that I was actually digging my own shallow grave. A year into our relationship, I decided to take things on another level. I mean, I loved this lady. She brought the best out of me, and she became my best friend and my pillar. Well, I won't say she was my strength because my mother was there for that. I was ready to build my life with her and to make an honest person out of her. I wanted her to grow my family name, you know, and bear me children that would continue with the empire I had started building. My IT company was going well. Everything was running and going smoothly. I was pretty proud of myself and the achievement I had made. I even managed to take my mother out of Chicago, and we moved to North Carolina to have a fresh start and live in a peaceful neighborhood. We were a happy family of 3 people. Well, I do not know any relatives or extended family because my mother never mentions them when she talks, or even when I ask. She would always dismiss the topic and move on to another one. We tried getting it out of her, but she was not giving in, so we also gave up because it was clear that she wanted nothing to do with them. We had to respect her decisions. Surely something big had happened between her and her family, so maybe if we pushed hard, she would have ended up getting angry, and that is not what I wanted, to see my mother angry or sad. I always want to see her happy, peaceful, and smiling. Her happiness was my priority, so I would always make sure to avoid doing or saying something that would ruin her happy and peaceful moments. Anyway, I proposed to Amina, and obviously she said yes. We had decided to start planning for our wedding in 9 months because she was busy at school, traveling and visiting historical sites. I respected her decision even though I wanted to marry her the same day I had proposed to her. I mean, she didn't have any family members. She once told me that her extended family had disowned her after her grandmother had passed on, and she didn't know her parents. She never heard anything about them. 9 months passed and she was available to start with the wedding preparations. She came with the decision that our wedding would take place in 6 months because she didn't need any pressure of planning. She needed all the time so she could get everything she needed. I tried complaining about that, but my mother told me that every woman wants perfection when planning their big day, so I had to be patient and follow her lead, so I obliged. During the planning of the wedding, she was going out a lot. Apparently, she had got friends at the college, so they were helping her in planning. The only thing I had contributed in the planning was capital. It was her and her newly found friends that I didn't even know about or know their name. My conscience kept telling me that something was smelling fishy and I had to pay attention to everything. My IT mind took control, and I started bugging her phone because she was also acting strange. When I talked to my mother about it, she told me that it may be the wedding nerves because a month had already passed of Amina planning the wedding. I didn't understand why she didn't want us to hire a planner because it's every woman's dream to get a planner for their wedding. Or am I wrong? She was too obsessed with the wedding planning, or maybe that was what I thought. So I was busy tracking her phone's coordinates. I found out that she was spending a lot of time in one hotel in South Carolina. I got confused on what she was doing in South Carolina because there were boutiques and everything she needed here in North Carolina. That raised an eyebrow because she was no longer traveling to those historical sites that she was visiting to study. So one day she came back from the same hotel, because that was what my computer was telling me. I asked where she was coming from. She told me that she was looking for a wedding dress, so she went to South Carolina because she didn't get the dress she liked around here. I didn't understand and believe her explanation because there was no dress that was being sold in a hotel in South Carolina. My suspicions grew more. My consciousness was telling me that she was cheating, and I had to find out who she was cheating with instead of planning for our wedding. A piece of me wanted to call off the whole thing and let her go. So 4 months before our wedding, she started coming back to being the Amina I fell in love with. We would spend most of our free time together, going through how we wanted our wedding to be like. We were in love again. Well, that was what I had thought, but nope, the girl had an agenda. So one night I came back from work later than usual, so I couldn't join her and my mother for dinner. When I got to our bedroom, she was wearing very sexy lingerie. I got tempted in an instant. As much as I was tired, I couldn't resist her beautiful melanin body. One thing about Amina, she was really gifted when it came to the body. She had the most perfect body, and I loved every part of it. So we did the things that engaged people do, and it was really amazing as always. But that night she went extra, and I enjoyed every moment of it. A week later, I started getting sick. I started seeing a discharge and itchiness in my private part that I didn't even know where it came from. I had pains around my pelvis. I also started going to the bathroom more frequently. That was really unusual to me because I had never experienced something like that before, and it really worried me because I didn't know what was going on. I had thought I had a deadly disease, so I told my mother what I was going through. And another thing, I felt like less of a man because I couldn't even satisfy my fiancé anymore. And that led her back to her constant going out. My mother told me that what I was experiencing were symptoms of STI. I couldn't believe her. She then told me to visit the doctor for a checkup just to be sure that it was not an STI. So I took a leave of absence at work and went to the doctor because I was really worried and was scared to lose Amina. What was happening to me was really scary, and the only thing that was ringing in my head was cancer or a very serious and deadly condition. So when I got to the doctor, he confirmed my mother's suspicions. Indeed, I had an STI, and the doctor requested that I bring my partner along to make sure that she was not infected. I was so confused by what the doctor said when he said he wanted to check if my partner was not infected. So in my mind, it came like the doctor suspected that I was cheating and had possibilities that I had infected my partner, which made me think that maybe I had gotten it from Amina. I mean, she was constantly going to a hotel in South Carolina, claiming that she was looking for a wedding dress at the same hotel. I got angry because the last time we had been intimate was when she surprised me with lingerie, but where did she get it from? So I waited for her to get back from whoever she was coming from. That day, I didn't even bother checking her cell phone coordinates because I was going through my own thing. My mother kept telling me to calm down and talk to Amina in a calm manner, but I was too livid for any normal conversation. So when she came back, I asked her to go with me to the doctor. She started by throwing tantrums when I suggested that and asked if I didn't trust her. Her outburst confused me and made me angrier because it showed that she knew something. So I asked her politely about her whereabouts and told her not to think of lying to me. Then she told me the most shocking thing ever. She revealed that she had gotten back with her abusive ex-fiancé, and she had been spending most of her time in a hotel in South Carolina with him. She started apologizing about that and told me that she was scared to tell me that she had an STI, so she slept with me that day because she wanted to put a blame on me and make me look like I was the cheater. I couldn't believe my ears. I had thought maybe I had heard wrong, but no, the bitch had the nerve to tell me that. I couldn't control myself. I found myself straggling her on our bed until my mother burst into our bedroom and begged me to stop. I saw the trauma on my mother's face and Amina's since they were survivors of abusive relationships. Well, Amina had gone back to her abuser, so I won't count her. She was the dumbest woman I had ever met. So I decided to just leave the house and went to the hotel and hacked their CCTV system to check the room that Amina was spending time in with her criminal and to see what was happening. When I got it, I watched the videos of them getting all kinky on each other. My blood boiled, so I created fake accounts on social media and posted the videos online. I was hurt, angry, disappointed, and impetuous. I wanted to destroy her life just like how she did with mine. She was selfish to infect me with her infection, and she thought I was not going to find out. The videos started trending and I broke things off with her. My mother was really hurt because she had taken her as a daughter, but she disappointed her. I told her to leave, and I was glad that she was earning her own money, so there was nothing that was going to connect me with her anymore. I hated her, and I still do. What she did was the most cruel thing a person could do to another person. She kept apologizing, but I was not going to forgive her. I got help and treated the infection. Luckily, it had not spread or got serious, so I followed all the doctor's instructions and vowed to myself that I would never get involved with a woman. Not after what I had been through. After the videos trended, I heard that the criminal abuser was actually a wanted suspect, so somehow the videos I linked helped the police department to catch him. It was difficult having to end things with the person I loved and shared my all with, but I had to think of myself first, and I couldn't leave my mother alone. I am too young to die. Guys, do you think I handled things better or I was a bit harsh for putting my ex-fiancé's dirty laundry for the world to see? Please advise me.